On the night before my son's wedding, his fiancée leaned in, smiled without warmth, and said, "After tomorrow, you're not part of this family." The words clicked like a deadbolt, and I decided to stop trying to be welcome somewhere I funded. So I didn't show up, and by morning the wedding didn't happen, not because I threw a scene, but because quiet paperwork, frozen funds, and one rule written in a vendor contract turned their fairy tale countdown into a locked gate. You're watching Revenge Files. Subscribe for a new twist daily. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I raised my son Noah in a beige ranch on Maple Crest Drive. I'm a 52-year-old bookkeeper who keeps color-coded folders and writes names on freezer meals. My late husband used to say my superpower was receipts. Noah met Harper at a coffee cart near campus. She was glossy and quick with a compliment. She liked talking about elevated aesthetics and the energy money brings. I told myself she loved him. I also kept reading contracts. The plan was simple. A June wedding at Sycamore Hollow Barn, 20 minutes north in Delaware County. 130 guests. A string quartet until sunset, then a DJ. I agreed to help with costs, not control them. Except every conversation about money felt like a test I was meant to fail. I set up what I called the wedding fund, not a blank check, a dedicated account with $20,000 earmarked only for vendor invoices. Vendors had to bill the account directly. I required receipts and contracts in my name only if I was the one paying. It was my way of helping without being steamrolled. Harper didn't like it. She called it old school and petty. She said, "We're not trying to nickel and dime a celebration." Her mother chimed in with, "Real families don't do spreadsheets. One problem, venues do." On April 5, 2024, I wired an $8,500 deposit to Sycamore Hollow Barn for Noah and Harper's date, Saturday, June 22. The contract was clear. Final balance due by 9 a.m., the morning of the event. Payment must be undisputed and in good funds. The contract used that phrase, undisputed. If there was a freeze or chargeback, the barn could cancel. There was also a line about a certificate of insurance naming the venue as additional insured. No insurance, no entry. I highlighted those lines in yellow. "Do you have to read it like that?" Harper asked. "I always read like this," I said. I wasn't being snide. I was telling the truth. By May, the add-ons crept in. Chiavari chairs, Edison bulbs, a premium bar package with signature cocktails named for their dog. I kept getting forwarded links, not invoices. When I asked for contracts, Noah said, "Babe, my mom just wants to keep things organized." And Harper said, "Sure," in the tone that means the opposite. I should have pushed harder. I didn't. I chose quiet. I chose to stay in my lane. I told myself people say dramatic things when stressed. I told myself weddings magnify the best and worst in people. The rehearsal dinner was Friday, June 21, at an Italian place near Short North. I showed up with my little gift bags for the bridesmaids, lip balm, mints, sewing kits like moms do. Harper's mother took one look and said, "Oh, we have a separate aesthetic." She slid them aside. Later, when I offered to help tally the seating chart, Harper leaned toward me at the corner of the bar, lowering her voice so only I could hear. "After tomorrow," she said, "you're not part of this family." I watched her lips form the words. I felt the room go colder than the wine. I didn't make a scene. I didn't cry. I said, "Understood," and I left my half-eaten tiramisu on the plate, the fork still upright, like a flag. In the parking lot, I sat in my Corolla and breathed. I put my palms on the wheel. My phone buzzed with a bank alert. An authorization pending. $4,600 scheduled for 7:30 a.m. to Sycamore Hollow Barn, premium beverage addendum. The memo line read, "Upgrade, open bar." It was attached to a PDF I had never seen. I opened the PDF. It was my name typed under a signature line. The signature itself wasn't quite mine. The E in Elaine looked right, but the rest was too round. There was a date, June 14. There were terms. The addendum said the new total would be auto-debited the morning of the event. It said the signer warranted authority. I felt something hard and bright click into place. I texted Noah, "Call me," he wrote back, "Can it wait? I'm in a thing." "Did you authorize the bar upgrade from my account?" I typed, 3 dots. Then Harper said, "You saw the email." "I did now," I wrote. "The signature is not mine." He didn't answer. I called. It went to voicemail. I could hear the party in the background when he called back. "Mom, this is not a big deal," he said. "We'll settle up later." "Later is when the money is gone," I said. "Who signed my name?" "It was a digital thing," he said. "You must have clicked." "I didn't," I said. I kept my voice low. "Noah, this is fraud. It's my account." "Mom," he said, tired and 28 and hopeful and foolish, "please don't make this about you." I ended the call. I stared at my hands. I could hear my husband's voice the day we set up the first savings account when Noah was 12. You protect a thing by touching it every day. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table. I pulled the bank portal, the vendor contract, the addendum. I photographed my signature on my passport and driver's license, and the medical power of attorney. I put the images side by side. I watched the loops and angles disagree. At 9:12 p.m., I called the bank's after-hours line and filed an affidavit of unauthorized debit. I asked for a stop payment and a fraud hold. The representative, a woman named Carla, read the terms aloud. Because it was an ACH scheduled for the morning, a stop payment would freeze that item for 72 hours. If the vendor attempted to collect, it would be declined. She emailed me the confirmation while we spoke. I saved it as Exhibit A. At 9:31 p.m., I forwarded the addendum to the Sycamore Hollow manager, a man named Rick Harmon. I wrote, "Notice of disputed authorization and signature. Do not process any charges under my name. I am not a party to the addendum. Please refer to Section 3B of our contract. Final payment must be undisputed and in good funds. Without that, the contract gives you the right to cancel." I attached the bank hold letter. I copied Noah's email and Harper's. I added my cell number. At 9:44 p.m., I opened the policy for day of event insurance we had purchased in May. The certificate named Sycamore Hollow Barn LLC as additional insured. The policy listed me as the payer and the insured. I called the insurer's 24-hour line and asked one question. If I withdraw as named insured tonight, does the certificate remain valid? "No," the representative said. "The certificate is only valid while the named insured policy is active." "I'm withdrawing," I said. At 10:07 p.m., I emailed Rick again. "Please note the event insurance certificate issued on May 18th is canceled as of 1:10:05 p.m., June 21. I am no longer the named insured. Per Section 7A of your contract, valid proof of insurance is required for entry." At 10:19 p.m., Rick replied, "Understood. We will not open the gate without undisputed payment and valid insurance. Please advise the couple to contact us at 8 a.m. I stared at the message. It was plain, it was policy, it was not personal. That mattered. I packed a folder, bank affidavit, contract pages highlighted, original insurance certificate and the cancellation email, a printout of my driver's license signature. I slid everything into sheet protectors. I did not set an alarm to be at the barn. I went to bed, except I didn't sleep. I lay awake and watched the red digits on my clock step toward midnight. The house made its settling sounds, air through the vents, the creak near the hall closet. I thought about Noah's baby hair sticking to his forehead after swim lessons. I thought about the way grief teaches you to count, the days, the pills, the bills, the checks. I looked at the ceiling and tried not to cry. At 6:41 a.m., Rick emailed again, "Morning. Please note we haven't received a replacement certificate of insurance. Final balance attempt at 7:30 a.m. failed due to stop payment. Per Section 3B, we cannot host until the balance is paid in good funds. The property will remain closed to your party until resolved." At 7:02 a.m., my phone rang. Harper. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. I answered. "What did you do?" she said. "No hello, no tone work, a blade." "I stopped an unauthorized charge," I said. "And I canceled insurance. I paid for—" "You're trying to ruin this day," she said. "I'm protecting my account," I said. "And I'm following the contract you agreed to when you took my deposit." "That deposit is non-refundable," she snapped. "Only if the event happens," I said. "Read Section 9. If the venue cancels for cause, they can retain part for costs and offer a later date or a partial refund. If the event is canceled due to a dispute you created, that's not on me. But you don't care. You never did. You signed my name." Silence. Finally, you were never going to be family. Then stop spending my money, I said. At 8:05 a.m., I got a text from Noah. We're on our way to the barn, he wrote. Please, Mom. Talk to Rick, I replied. Bring a cashier's check and a valid insurance certificate. He'll open the gate. At 8:47 a.m., I made coffee. I buttered toast. I fed the neighbor's cat because they were at their daughter's graduation. I kept checking my phone like it was going to bite me. At 9:03 a.m., a photo arrived from a bridesmaid whose number I didn't recognize. She'd been looped in when we planned the rehearsal dinner. The image showed the gravel drive at Sycamore Hollow and the white wooden gate with the barn logo. The gate was closed. A laminated sign hung from the latch, event suspended, office. A cluster of startled people stood at the turn-in, holding garment bags and garment dreams. The caption said, "They won't let us in." I didn't send it to anyone. I sat at my kitchen table and looked at my hands. At 9:12 a.m., Rick called. "Miss Carter," he said. "We have a situation." "You have a contract," I said. "We do," he said, "and we are following it." His voice was gentle and tired. "The couple does not have good funds for the balance. Their replacement insurance certificate is incomplete. The insurer they called doesn't issue same-day certificates. We've explained this. We can't open the property to a 130-person event without those items. It's a liability issue." We offered a later date. They declined. "I need to document that we informed you." "Document it," I said. I didn't drive to the barn. I didn't stand outside the gate. I didn't comfort people who would not comfort me. I put Rick's email in my folder and put the folder on the counter. By noon, my phone was a nest of messages. Some were kind. "Are you okay?" wrote my sister Lila from Cincinnati. Some were not. "I hope you're proud," wrote a number I didn't know. "You ruined your son's life." I read every word. I did not respond. At 2:14 p.m., Noah showed up at my door. He looked like he hadn't slept. His tie was still knotted, crooked. He smelled like heat and hairspray. He didn't knock. He opened the door with his old key and stood there, tall in my little foyer. "Mom," he said. It was a plea and a wound. I led him to the kitchen. I poured water. He took the glass with both hands. He didn't drink. "They said you canceled the wedding," he said. "I canceled nothing," I said. "I stopped an unauthorized debit. The venue canceled because you didn't comply with the contract." He put the glass down. "Harper says you did this to punish her." "I did this to protect myself," I said. "And you—" I slid the folder across the table. I opened it to the addendum. "Look at this signature. It is not mine. Your fiancée put my name on a liability I didn't agree to. She tried to draft my account to pay for it. That's a felony if I push it." He stared. He didn't take the papers. His eyes moved like he wanted to undo the lines with his will. "It's just money," he said. "No," I said softly. "It's consent." He flinched like the words stung. He looked at me. He looked at the papers. He looked at the refrigerator, at the magnets that held old-school photos and a faded yard sale flyer. He was all bone and boy and mistake. "I love her," he said. "Then you should both love the truth," I said. He left without slamming the door. That felt like a mercy. The internet did what it does. Photos of guests in parking lots, a TikTok of a bridesmaid crying in a bathroom, comments from strangers, speculation and certainty and zero context. I didn't answer anyone. I turned my phone face down. On Monday, June 24th, I filed a police report for forgery and attempted fraud. I didn't expect them to haul anyone away. I wanted a case number. I also filed a complaint with my bank's fraud unit and gave them my folder. They scanned the pages and nodded at my highlights like they meant something. On Tuesday, June 25th, Rick emailed his incident report. It was methodical. He included timestamps. He listed the contract sections. He wrote, "Gate remained closed due to non-compliance. We offered alternative dates in August and September. The couple declined. We will assess costs and determine deposit disposition after review." I printed the report and labeled it Exhibit B. The midweek silence was loud. Harper didn't contact me. Her mother posted a half-sweet, half-poisoned thing on Facebook about when envy ruins joy. Lila texted hearts. My neighbor Ruth brought by a casserole. It tasted like 1998 and relief. On Thursday, June 27th, I got an email from Sycamore Hollow's attorney. It said the venue would be retaining $3,200 of the deposit for staff and prep, and returning $5,300 to the payer, me, within 14 business days. They attached a ledger and the section of the contract that gave them that right. Harper forwarded the email with a subject line, "This is theft." She wrote, "We will sue you for interfering." Then, in a second paragraph, "You are not family." I replied once, "Please direct any further communication to me in writing. Do not contact me by phone." She wrote back, "Coward." I didn't respond. On July 3rd, a certified letter arrived from the bank confirming the unauthorized debit hold and the outcome of their review. We have determined that the attempted debit of $4,600 was not authorized by the account holder, it read. We have placed a permanent block on debits from that merchant under the disputed authorization key. I filed it as Exhibit C. For a week, Noah didn't call. Then he did. "We're rescheduling," he said, stiff. "We found another venue." "Good," I said. "Pay them in good funds." "I want you there," he said. He sounded like a boy on a porch with skinned knees. He also sounded like a man having to choose. "But Harper says..." "You don't need to finish that sentence," I said. July slipped by in heat and thunderstorms. I tended the garden. I filed my quarterly taxes for 3 clients. Sometimes I woke at night and heard Harper's words again. Like a door clicking shut, "You're not part of this family." That sentence didn't just hurt. It clarified. On August 9th, I filed a claim in Franklin County Small Claims Court against Harper for the costs I incurred handling the fraud attempt, the hours of time I billed to no one, the courier fees to deliver affidavits, the filing fee of $85, and a request for a declaratory judgment that the signature was not mine. I wasn't asking for punishment. I wanted a paper that said what happened. Harper responded with a counterclaim. She said I'd interfered with the business expectancy and emotional distress. Her lawyer attached screenshots of comments from people I didn't know. They circled a comment that suggested I was jealous. "The internet is lazy and cruel." The hearing was scheduled for September 12th, a Thursday. I booked the afternoon off and put on the navy dress I own for formal realities, funerals, meetings, things that make your hands shake. The courtroom was small. The judge had kind eyes and a drier sense of humor than anyone gave him credit for. He called my case. I stood at one table. Harper stood at the other with a lawyer in a suit a size too large. "Ms. Carter," the judge said, "you're seeking $1,240 in costs and a declaration regarding a disputed signature." "Yes, Your Honor," I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded like it had bones. "Miss Lane," he said to Harper, "you're seeking damages for interference and distress." Her lawyer did the talking. He used words like vindictive and estrangement. He said I weaponized a contract. He painted a picture of a mother who couldn't let go. Harper dabbed at her eyes when he gestured toward her. It was a performance with exquisite lashes. When it was my turn, I didn't tell a story. I put evidence on the tiny cart. Exhibit A, bank affidavit and hold confirmation. Exhibit B, venue incident report and contract sections highlighted. Exhibit C, bank letter confirming the unauthorized debit. Exhibit D, the addendum with the signature that looked like mine but wasn't. I also had side-by-side prints of my driver's license and passport signatures. I showed the loop of the L and the tilt of the N. I explained briefly what undisputed means in a contract. "Ms. Carter," the judge said, "did you contact the venue the night before?" "Yes," I said. "I sent notice that I disputed the charge and that the insurance I paid for was canceled. The contract allows them to cancel entry in that circumstance." "Why cancel the insurance?" he asked. "Because I was the named insured and payer," I said. "I didn't consent to the risk anymore." He nodded. He looked at Harper. "Miss Lane, did you sign Miss Carter's name on the addendum?" Her lawyer jumped in. "Your Honor, it was a digital form. There was confusion about who had authority." The judge raised a hand. "Miss Lane?" Harper's voice was small. "We thought she'd be fine with it," she said. "Did you sign her name?" he asked again. She looked at her lawyer. She looked at me. "Yes," she said, "but it wasn't malicious." The judge sat back. He rubbed his temple. He looked at the contract. He looked at the bank letter. He looked at the calendar, like it had something to say. Here's the thing, he said. A signature is consent. Consent belongs to the person who gives it. When you take more than a line on a page. He paused. I fined for Ms. Carter in the amount of $1,240 for costs. I also find that the signature on the addendum was not hers. As for the counterclaim, there is no cause of action here. Miss Carter acted within her rights to protect her account and withdraw from an insurance policy she alone paid for. The venue enforced its contract. That is not interference, that is the world working the way it's supposed to. He typed something. The printer spooled, the bailiff tore off the paper and stamped it. The sound was a brass doorbell rung for me. Outside on the courthouse steps, Harper's mother was waiting. She opened her mouth. I held up my hand. Don't, I said gently. I wish you well. I wish your daughter a life where she doesn't need to take what isn't hers. Harper's mother closed her mouth. She turned away like I had flicked off a light. I drove home on Broad Street with the window down. The sky was a blue that ought to be reserved for summer fairs. I stopped at a farm stand and bought tomatoes that smelled like rain. My hands were still shaking. They were also steady in some deep bone place. A week later, Noah came over. He didn't call first. He just showed up and knocked and waited like a man does when he isn't sure he should be there at all. We broke up, he said when I opened the door. I'm sorry, I said. I meant it. He came in and sat on the couch like he remembered where his knees and the table agreed. He told me they'd tried to rebook at a different venue. He told me there were fights about money and blame. He told me he'd found a text on Harper's iPad where she wrote to a friend, "Once we're married, the account is ours." He looked at me when he said that. He looked at me like he had misplaced a language and just found it again. I should have listened, he said. You should have looked, I said. But you did. We ate pasta with jarred sauce. We watched a movie we'd watched when he was 12 and too tall for the kid bike and too young for the next. We laughed at the same dumb line. We washed the dishes, twin hands under hot water. On October 1, the venue's refund arrived. $5,300, as promised. I put it back into the wedding fund and renamed the account Emergency Savings. I texted Noah a photo of the balance. This is still yours, I wrote. If you ever need first and last on a place, a used car, a class. He wrote back, thank you. In November, I got the court's written findings in the mail. The order was 2 pages, ordinary paper, official seal. It said what happened in plain words that didn't care about anyone's opinions. I slipped it into the folder behind Exhibit D. I labeled it Final Order, September 12, 2024. Sometimes, late at night, the sentence returns, "You're not part of this family." It still stings. It also still clarifies. Family isn't something you can be cut out of by decree after dessert. Family is what remains when someone tries to forge your name and you do not disappear. On the morning I didn't drive to a barn, I buttered toast and fed a cat and kept receipts. By noon, a gate was locked because words in a contract meant something. That's not glamorous revenge. It's quieter. It's the sound of a deadbolt clicking the other way. I still highlight contracts in yellow. I still cook too much food for one person and deliver it to neighbors. Noah comes by on Sundays. Sometimes we sit on the porch and talk about nothing. Sometimes we say the hard thing and let it sit between us like a third bowl. He's learning to keep his own receipts, the paper kind and the other kind. When the porch light clicks on at dusk, it's automatic. It's not sentimental. It's just how the house is wired. And how I am now too.